Okay, I forgot to mention when I first started this video, so I might add this little bit in first, is if you are using your main system to try and run a dual boot, always back up your data, what you need, like photos, stuff like that. Can't stress it enough. Back it up onto a separate drive or thumb drive or whatever you can get. But this has been a bit of a doozy of a video and journey for me. Things really didn't go well. What's new? But it's going to be quite a long video, and 90% of it is me messing up. Finally I figured it out. Didn't quite get the result how I wanted to actually do the dual boot system. I'll let the video speak for itself. Okay guys, today's episode is going to be attempting to do a dual boot with Windows and Linux. Now this will be a fully upgraded, full-fat version of Windows 11. I'm just going to show you now that it is actually a up-to-date system. I'm just going to double check, see if there's any more updates to put on it. If nothing comes up, now it's the 18th of June, 2026, and literally it is up to date as it possibly can. Now the Linux version I'm going to be trying to dual boot with is something called Navara. Now this is a Fedora based Linux distro, and the reason why I've chosen this, as you can see, no more updates at the moment. The reason why I've chosen this particular version of Linux is because this also supports secure boot. So I don't have to be messing around too much, to change secure boot on and off, so it'll run perfectly fine in Windows and it'll run perfectly fine in Linux. Now I have AMD graphics cards, which will make a difference, because when you turn secure boot on in certain Linux distros, you can have a problem with certain NVIDIA drivers. So I've already got the Linux boot up USB drive already set up. So what I'm going to do now is unhook it from the Wi-Fi, because that's the USB drive as well. Basically put this on, reboot into a BIOS list on boot options, and then I'll catch up when I'm on that. Okay, here we are at the boot device selection of the BIOS before you boot up into any operating system. I'm going to go ahead and click on UEFI USB hard drive. Is it? Yeah. And just start it off, and then that should start the Navara. Media, so I'm literally going to go straight, no point testing the media, I know the media works, so I'm going to start Navara 4.3, and this should now take me straight into the installation setup for Navara Linux. So when that's up and ready, I'll bring you in. Right, here we are in the Navara install. Very similar to other Linux installers. It's just pretty much the same as Zorin is. I'm just going to quickly go through this with you to show you how I actually do this. Well, it's only American English you can use on Navara to start off with, as I've never seemed to have found English UK. So you just click the next again, click your time zone. Sorry if I'm looking away from the camera, but it's on the opposite side for now until I sort my desk out. And then again, click the next button. Default English UK keyboard. Now here's where you type your names in things like that, so bear with me a second while I just fill out the information. Now, I'll tell you something about Navara, that is completely different to a lot of other Linux distributions, is you don't have to put a password in. You can just basically leave it blank, which for me is easier because I don't want to spend the extra seconds or every time I want to update something or reinstall something or install something new. I don't want to have to be typing in a password every 2 seconds. Because I find with Linux there are a lot of updates all the time. There's always somebody working on it somewhere to create patches. That's something that's not quite working properly, which is a good thing about Linux. There's also a downside of Linux where you have to constantly upgrade and update. So I'm going to leave the password on this one blank. I will reuse the user password as well. This is something else that I've found that I need to click on with Navara 4.3 or it won't install properly, and also log in automatically. So once I've done that, I will just hit the next button and it goes straight through. See, so it will accept no password. Now, here's where things differ. I'm going to now, instead of creating a new system altogether, I'm going to install alongside. Now I need to select a partition, which I think will be I have put a second partition on it, so I don't know. I might have to do manual partitioning or no. Install alongside, hit that and click the next button and see if it actually does it. I don't know if I need the second SSD in here or what, so let's give it a try anyway. If it all goes wrong, it's a way not to do it. So click start and install. Now it'll say it's going to make changes. You will not be able to undo these changes. Well, you will you can do but this is a test machine, and it doesn't matter if I delete partitions down the line because I've got nothing on the other hard drive that I need to keep. So it's not a problem. So just install now. And another little daft thing that Navara install actually has, I'll actually tell you about this, is that it has a little funny game where you can just basically mess around whilst you're waiting for the install to take place. It's nothing brilliant, but it gives you something to do whilst you're waiting. And you just basically got to get rid of all the balls. So it's something daft. Oh, we did that wrong, but there we go. Anyway, I'm waffling on already, so once this install's finished, I will come back to you and see what it looks like and how you change partition, how you change operating systems. Hopefully it should just be coming up with the Windows and then the Navara via grub boot up. Fingers crossed anyway. So I will, well, once we get to the finalisation stage of this installation, I will come back to you. Okay, the installation's coming through, and it's apparently saying it's all done and I need to restart. But now what I'm going to do is click the restart button and click done, and that way it should reboot, and hopefully grub should pop up where I can then see either the Windows install and the Linux install. Something else I noticed as well, I added a second SSD to this machine, but I seem to have put both partitions on the first SSD. Now this may compromise certain parts of Windows, because now the Windows partition is going to be too small. It's going to be slowing it down. I'll have a quick look at that as well at another time to work out how to click the second SSD, so it will just leave the Windows partition completely separate. I think it's just basically a case of going into the bottom section and actually choose the different SSD instead of just using the original one. I will have a quick look at some point and give a quick update on that later on. So as things now, I'm just going to press restart, and hopefully we will jump into the grub at some point. Fingers crossed again, and if it doesn't do it, it just shows how I shouldn't have done it, and possibly start again. It just may take a little bit of time to boot up through. Here we go. It's starting up. And I think it's just going to go straight into Windows. Right, I've definitely done something wrong here. I need to work out what I've done wrong here. So doing it that way really hasn't worked, unfortunately, but there's a way not to do it. I know that's quite annoying, to be fair, but I will find out what I've done wrong. Okay, I'll come back to you at some point, because I might have to start again. And I've also realised people may be doing this from a full upgrade of Windows 10 version instead of Windows 11, but we'll find out anyway. Now, I've just done a bit of reading up, and apparently Nabara doesn't support secure boot, so I'm going to have to go into the BIOS once this is finally booted up, which is going to take forever, because all of a sudden I've drained the resources on Windows 11. I'm going to have to disable dual boot for the grub boot up to hopefully overtake, and so I can then choose either install. So I may actually have to start again, wipe both hard drives, start up with Windows 10 instead of Windows 11, but I want to just see if we can get it running on Windows 11 first, then I'll do a reboot on Windows 10, because I think I've killed this one off right fair. But anyway, get back to you. Okay, we have had a bit of a problem. Messed around a little bit with the BIOS, turn secure boot off and stuff like that, and it literally just wouldn't boot at all, even when I reset up the defaults and put them back to where I had them when it was booting Windows 11 up. It's just completely wiped out. So now what I'm going to have to do is reinstall Windows 10 on the initial SSD, and then go through another Nabara Linux. But when I do it this time, I will move my camera across and possibly do it a different way, and see if I can do it that way. I haven't tried to do a dual boot system for at least 15 years, 10-15 years, so I'm quite rusty on this. So let's see how I'll install Windows. You've probably all seen a Windows install before, so I'm going to get that done, install Windows. Once Windows is installed, I'm not so bothered about upgrading it for now. I will do eventually, because I'm wanting to do a debloat on Windows 11 eventually, but I've got to learn a bit more on PowerShell stuff, so that is up and coming, but that might be a week or so, maybe 2 weeks away. I'm just trying to set a system up what people might want to use now with the first year of Windows updates, the extended program going away in a couple of months. I think it's October the 13th. Because I don't know, or it hasn't been announced if Microsoft is going to allow people to buy the second year's extended or third year's extended license, and even then you're looking for the next 2 years spending $180 just to keep a Windows 10 machine up and running for security updates. So I will get this done and I'll come back to you once Windows 10 has been installed. Actually, what I'm going to do in between coming back to you on Windows 10, I'm going to show you how I'm going to delete the partitions I've created, so it will basically just hopefully wipe the PC clean. That would be, you go into a custom install and then you just basically start hitting on drive 1, delete all these partitions. Yeah, excuse me again for not looking at you directly, because I've got the screen in the wrong place. And there we go, we've got it down to that, and I'm going to install it back in the original partition. As you can see, you just click on a drive and you can delete it or format it this way. This comes up on your installation of Windows. I've clicked on the drive that I'm wanting Windows to go into and just hit next, and it should start working through as it's doing. So now I'm going to come back to you when Windows is installed. Okay, back here in Windows 10. Now I'm going to do, hopefully, is a Nabara dual boot setup. Hopefully, I'm going to move the camera over to the other side of the screen, so hopefully you can see what I'm trying to do. I'll do that. Actually, I'll do that now. Why not? Let me get to the point, because this screen resolution is terrible. So just move you over to, let's get a bit further up so I make sure I'm in the top corner properly. Right, okay, now by doing this, hopefully when I'm going through the Navara parts, you can actually see what I'm clicking, what I'm doing, or what I'm attempting to do, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I am now back on the BIOS boot manager, which I'm now going to go and hit UFIE. Let's be hard, so I think that's the right one. Yeah, that's the correct one, and just hit that. Hopefully it'll take me into Wivdows and Linux again, so I will start recording from there. Okay guys, I seem to be having a bit of a problem here. All of a sudden when I've tried to, I've actually installed Windows on the second hard drive, or SSD should I say, and all of a sudden I've lost all abilities to screen capture. So I'm just going through all the updates, see if I can actually get the correct drivers installed for the graphics card. Hopefully that will kick the screen capture back up and running, so I'm just going to try and get that done and get a screen up so you can see what I'm doing. I'll come back again. Okay, once again I'm at this stage where I'm going to be going into the Navara starter installation setup. So as you can see, I'm just going to go straight Navara 43. This is what you couldn't see last time when I had my camera over the other side of the screen. So once we get up into the installation page, I will get back to you, because this one for some reason takes a little while to boot into. So here we are again at the Nabara install. Hopefully it will now find the correct, or the second hard drive, well SSD, and I can do the install this way. So I'm just basically going through what I did last time, so you all know this one. Again, no password. And something has changed this time. So, hang on, I can't quite make out what's going on here, so bear with me 1 second. Alright. Yep, erase this disk because now it's finding the smaller SSD, which is finally a good thing. So we erase the disk. Is it coming up as the right one still? 119. Yep, so that's hit the next button, hit install, and install it now. So hopefully it should install, and I should still be able to get into the Linux kernel boot selector. Now I'm going to get back to you once this is finished. Fingers crossed, I've finally done it. Right, okay, as the Nabara Linux installs, I think I've done something wrong yet again. So this should be a video on how not to dual boot. That's the way things are going. I forgot to create certain files in the SSD before running the installer. So I think what will happen, it will just literally start booting into Linux constantly from start off, unless I choose a different drive via the BIOS boot, which in a way it's a sort of way of doing it, but I want to show you guys how to do it correctly, so it's a lot simpler than rather having to go into the BIOS boot selector, and it's just basically a case of selecting via the grub, either Linux or Windows. So this is going to be a delayed video coming out, to say the least. Okay guys, yes again, Nabara Linux has been installed. Now I'm going to do a reset and see if it jumps into either Windows or Linux from the get-go, and if it does do that, I am then going to check to see if I can alternate the operating system via the BIOS bootloader. That's not how I actually want to get this done. So if that is the case of that happening, I will I will stop this video as it is, so thank you for that, and then I will create another shorter video tomorrow, because it's now 4 o'clock in the morning for me, on how it's telling me how to do it through via ChatGPT, and see if that works. But it's been a bit of an interesting one for me, this, so I'm going to just go ahead and click restart now button, and done, and let's see what happens. See if it boots up into either Linux on its own or Windows by its own, or if it comes up with a grub. Hopefully, but I doubt it, it will go into the grub, so I can change the operating system with the click of a switch. We will see. No, I think it's just going straight into Windows at this moment in time, which is what I suspect might happen. Yep, so I have a plan. Let's see if it works, which is a semi-win if this works how I think it's going to work. So I'm just going to hit the reset button now, and when we get the BIOS screen up, I'm going to rapidly tap the key to bring the boot BIOS up. which is now. And let's see if we can change it to that one. This should be now the Linux one, and if it is a case of that, it has semi-worked. But no, it's doing what it did last time. So yet again, oh no, oh I know, I might have done this slightly wrong, so we'll do it again. Control delete, and just see if we get the same sort of thing again without the actual USB in the plug hole sort of thing. So no. So yeah, I think I know how I've done this wrong, which was the same way I did it wrong last time. So what, I've got some extra folders to create first before I do this. So I'm probably going to end this video right here and then put another video up tomorrow because I'm a bit tired. Then I can go through it step by step properly via the search on the other machine and see how it is. So again, thank you guys, and I'll be putting something up shortly. Right, I just couldn't leave it. I think I've got the way how to do it, and because it's fresh in my mind, I'm going to try it this way straight away. So I'm going to do a reset again, hit the F11, click on this one again. I know it doesn't work, but bear with me on this one, and then let it bring up the Linux installer straight away. So this will come back up as Linux installer, and then I need to go through and create a couple of partitions. It doesn't say how big to create these partitions, which is quite annoying, so I think I'll probably just do 500 meg for 2 of them, and then the main operating system files. Oh, this is just quite bizarre, and why is it not? It's taking a while to come up again, so once the installer hits again, I will be recording. Okay, take 5 or something daft like that, wherever it is. Now back on the Navara screen yet again. I'm going to start going through the installation that you already know so well by now, so I've recorded it that many damn times. I'm sick of writing this as well, so I'm just going to shorten the name, do the usual thing like this. Okay, I think I've done things a little bit wrong. I've been looking on several other YouTube channels, and it's coming up like you've got to remove, once you've installed Windows, you hit shut down, remove that drive from your system, so just unplug a cable so it doesn't connect, or unplug both cables, whichever you want to do, completely remove it. Then run a complete installation of Linux, and once that's uploaded, you then switch it back off, insert the Windows drive back in, and hopefully then it's saying it should then give you the ability to go through the boot menu via BIOS to switch between, and I think that's the only way you can be really doing it if you have 2 drives. Maybe I'm still doing something wrong, but I'm going to attempt that right now. So I'm going to shut this PC down, remove the Windows drive, install Ubuntu as a standalone installation without the Windows disk put in. Then I'm going to shut it down again, add the Windows drive back in, then hopefully it should give me the options then in the BIOS boot to either switch between Nabara or should switch between Windows. And if it still doesn't do it, I think I might be using the wrong version of Linux, because every other one I've seen, it's been either Ubuntu or Linux Mint that they've done this in. So it should still work the same way. Should. How things are going for me today, it's not really working that well. But so I'm going to shut down, close this off, shut down, and just have a single drive in, and then run through another installation of Nabara, and then boot it up into Nabara, switch it off, then add a secondary drive, and fingers crossed that will do it. Okay, now I've completely taken the SSD off. That's the one that's got Windows on. So now I'm going to go through a USB hard drive again and go through yet another lot of installing Nabara. Once that's done and installed, I'll show you up again. So here we go. Okay guys, I've done the Nabara install without the Windows SSD in. So now I'm going to go ahead, shut down, do a reboot and see if I can find both UEFI loaders. Hopefully I do. I'm still not holding any sort of things to account. I'll come back to you anyway and see what happens. Right, okay, into the BIOS bootloader, and I can see a couple of things that are slightly different. So initially I am going to be starting with the UEFI OS. This should boot me into Linux. Should. So I'm going to try this one now, see if it works. Which it does straight away. Okay, that's a good start. So now we have Nabara Linux booting off the UEFI where that wasn't happening before. It was just basically it would load into Windows and not the Linux part. So that's a little bit of an improvement because both installs are there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to restart the internet. So I've got no internet at the moment. I'm going to start up on, where's the, oh yeah, shut down. Nope, not shut down, cancel, I'm going to reboot. Restart and hit the BIOS boot up again and see if I can boot into Windows now. And if this works, fine, but it's not the kind of way I wanted it to be done. I literally wanted it to load up via grub, but it seems like it won't work that way. So now I'm going to go into my Kingston drive, and then this should be booting into Windows. See if that works. It's either one or the other. That always seems to do this. And go straight back into the bar again. So no matter what I'm doing lately, it doesn't seem to want to put this up as a dual boot, and it's really annoying me. So I wonder if I hit the built-in EFI shell, see if that goes into that. I mean, there's a couple of separate things. Oh no, it'd be the Windows Boot Manager. Of course it will. And now it should boot into Windows. I just chose the wrong selection. So this is looking like it's going to boot into Windows now. So yep. So this is the way I'm having to boot up, do a dual boot system with Linux via two SSDs. Like I said, I would have liked to have got it in through a grub installer. Like I said, didn't work out like that. But this way still will let you do the dual boot, and this way you don't have to go into any of the terminal on Linux to actually create a group bootloader to get it up and running. So one last time I'm going to check and see if I can reboot into Linux, and if it is, I'm going to call that as a final success sort of thing. Wait till it comes up. Then we go UEFI OS, and now where's the Windows one gone? Oh, there's also either Fedora or Windows right at the bottom, so it's going to be them two. So see if that, yeah, Nevada Linux 7 straight up. So yes, that's the way to do it, as Punch says. It was a bit of a weird one. I'm going to let this boot up, and then I'm going to probably do a bit of a conclusion, because then the next video after that tomorrow can be an in-depth look at Navarra, as I like Navarra and I know it very well, so I should be able to set everything up very quickly, very easily, and but okay, this one really was a bit of a strange one. Now, with me not trying a dual boot system for such a long time, the computing world has changed, especially when it comes to dual booting. In the past, you would just basically start your Windows install, do the install, chuck a Linux distro in a USB or disk or CD. That's how long it's been since I've done a dual boot. Install the secondary Linux on the second hard drive, and the grub installer or grub bootloader would automatically overtake the Windows bootloader, and then give you the option to either boot Linux or boot Windows, literally just by tapping up and down like the grub loader does for when you start any sort of Linux distribution. Now these days it seems to have, I think this is to do with all the secure boot and the TPM2 and stuff like that. I think things have had to change because of that. Now these days you have to do it by installing Windows on one drive, remove that drive, add another drive, then install Linux on a separate drive, and then once you've finished installing Linux, re-add the first drive, and then you've got to go through the BIOS bootloader rather than the grub bootloader. So you still need a bit of technical knowledge to get dual boot, a little bit more than what some old grannies are going to be doing. So yes, dual booting is an option to be testing Linux, but Linux is, well, unless you can use Google and stuff like that, even then it took me many hours to work out how to do it properly. I'm not the best technician in the world by far, but I would have thought I'd have been able to pick up and been able to find that information out a lot quicker and a lot sooner than I did, because every time I tried to find it on through ChatGPT or even through Google and Reddit itself, it kept on trying to tell me to create 3 extra folders on the Linux partition side for the Linux boot, the EFI boot master command, and then the root. But it wouldn't tell you what sizes these partitions were supposed to be, what if it was MBNR or GPT or anything that sort of partition style. It just told you, oh, you've got to make these 3. It didn't even tell you how large you should be making these drives, which I find that was what was frustrating me, and that's why I kept on going back to the Linux installer with the Windows disk still in the machine to try and get it to force to do it. It's something where the documentation needs to be a little more clearer. But Linux people don't like if you're using Windows on top of it. It's part of the community. They seem to only want you to use, if you're going to use Linux, only use Linux. Don't try using Windows to even just to dip your toe in the water sort of thing to get comfortable to use it, because then if anything goes wrong, you've still got your Windows operating system as a backup to go back into and start again if you really need to. Whereas if people are like wanting the dual boot system, like, it's very vague on what you should do. The information's out there, but it's just way too vague for me. So thank you for that. Next video should be an easier one for me. Should be a shorter one as well, because I know what I'm doing technically. Well, I should do. I used an operating system for 7 months, so it should be all okay. Well, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Okay, a little quick one. If anybody knows actually how to do this to get it loading up on the Grub bootloader, please let me know. Please get in contact with me via a comment on the video, via email. It should come up on my YouTube channel what email I'm actually using, because I really want to know. I really want to be able to do this properly for people. Then I can always, if I do actually eventually get to do it, I will actually just make a quick video as an addendum to this one, and I will be happy. Thank you very much.